Alright, so this is episode 3 of Daredevil. By God, I think there's more lawyering in this show than Better Call Saul.
Or the whole Daredevil movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Again, to the movie's credit, it's whatever. I mean, 2 hours or something like that. There's a fucking Daredevil, or a fucking superhero, you gotta do something. But again, that is the advantage of this show, is that you can take that time, and I think mostly in this one, more than any of the others, I felt just this incredible feeling of dread. You know, there is just this uncomfortable feeling to this entire place, which I know, like, you go to a lot of bad places and movies and shows and stuff, but there's just this uncomfortable feeling that just goes through the whole thing.
I call it the Sauron effect. It's like in Fellowship of the Ring, there was that idea of that Sauron's presence is everywhere. And that's certainly the case with whoever is pulling the strings behind everything.
And it's so funny the when you see the Kingpin finally in this one, which is one hell of a great introduction. Just when you see the back of his head, honestly, I kind of got chills.
It makes me feel alone.
That is the word that I thought of for this entire episode. Watching, I'm just like, God, watching how, like, even Karen goes off to try and figure this out on her own and stuff like that, and just everyone is so confident in their wrongdoings that, I mean, anyone that is kind of a good person, and even the good people, you just feel so alone.
Yeah, it's this single set of people versus the world. Right now, they are all individually completely alone, right down to Ben Urich, who is being kind of shoved out of the paper slowly but surely, and just doing stupid subway stories, and like everybody's just going it alone. So
I don't know what I think it's got to be the amount of time, or I know, like, the way it's shot and acting and atmosphere plays a part too. But I'm asking myself, why do I get this feeling so much more in shows than I do in movies? Because I get it in Game of Thrones. I even got in, like, the Avatar: The Last Airbender at times. You just get the environment so much more, and I think that is because they have more time. Yeah, but that's not to say they don't have, like, great talent behind
this show in particular, though, the way it's shot and the way it's lit, you are alone. Like, literally, if you look at all these shots, you're always in the dark, and sometimes it's just people's faces just lit by, like, a lone light source. So there is this kind of claustrophobic sense of darkness surrounding you in every scene of the show. Even the courtroom scene. I mean, gorgeously filmed, but I'm like, man, that is a dark courtroom.
Well, I'm even thinking in the first episode when you see, the accident happen, the kid on the ground. I mean, there's people everywhere, yet somehow that's the word I still felt alone watching that. There's something about the way they shoot or the way they focus or something.
They're always focused on the characters.
And I think you're right too. The claustrophobia, I think, plays a part too. That is sort of the dark surrounding.
The way all of the shots are set up and the way the camera lingers on their faces,
or sometimes we'll slow it down. At
there is always a sense that you're always focused on the character, which sounds weird because, like, what else?
Shouldn't every movie do it? Yeah,
but there is a sense that the way these shots are done, you're always focusing on the character, so it feels like this one character alone standing on an empty stage, even when other stuff is going on. And not every movie or show can do that.
It's very difficult to do. And I think part of that, again, the environment, and just you have to really care for these people. And I really do. I've really grown to like these people. Foggy still gets on my nerves a bit, but
Foggy.
No, you know what it is? When he acts like a lawyer, I really like him. When he's doing the, boom boom lines and stuff, which aren't awful, but it's like, okay, this is the
I like it about
character.
going from, what was it, bad cop to worst cop.
Yeah, I mean, once in a while you'll get a good line, but I'm like, I kind of like it when he's just more kind of honest and sincere with the lawyer work.
He's kind of like that in the comics, though. Like, he's got that kind of dumpy look.
I know, and the John Favreau one did the same thing and stuff, but yeah, it's...
Honestly, I think this Foggy comes off better than in the movie, but...
Well, I thought Favreau played him fine, but it's like he played him the only way you could play him, The performances in that movie are not necessarily what's bad about it, but the most terrifying line in this is when the guy, they're representing this guy, and he says, you're not afraid at all if you win or lose this case, and he just goes, no, are you? I mean, it's just he was just so confident in that. in what he's set up with, that it was just so creepy to me. It's the same thing with the, what's the name of the guy? Wesley or what's the
Wesley?
Yeah, Wesley
still
is
one of
so
my favorite characters.
He is so confident, and he's so smiling, and
that
he's so
smug
happy.
indignation. I love his conversation with Leland because every time he's talking to Leland, like he just gets this look on his face. It's like, like it's just like, can you say that about your lawyers? Like he just it's this smug sense of righteous indignation from somebody who is completely amoral, kind of like not a psychotic in the sense that I think he's going to beat the shit out of people, but definitely sociopath if he doesn't care what happens to people.
But he'll still say hi to kids.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes because like he just says hi as he's just like hiding the gun, and it's just such a perfectly executed scene because it's just like it's kind of scary the fact that he's just like hi.
But you know, part of that too,
because
though,
it's
is
such
that
a put on.
He's hiding the gun. Of course, kids that the size, they're gonna look right at where the gun is. So if he goes hi, they'll look up and look at it. It's like, well, then they'll think more about him saying hi. I mean, it's a very
and the
subtle
scene where he deals
touch.
with the people playing pinball, and he's I have next. You could just tell it's like this guy could kill you in an instant if he wanted. Like he's just sitting there suffering these fools.
I'm trying to remember the last time I saw like somebody place a quarter on an arcade machine. It's just like, God, are there even arcades around anymore and stuff? That kind of took me back. Just
reminds me of the days of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, right. Remember Street Fighter? He always it's like, I'm next. You put the quarter down.
But the scary thing you were talking about how confident the hitman was. But that is the most scary, frightening thing about it is he is so confident. And so, I got this. And then he freaking bashes a guy's brains in with a bowling ball in the beginning. So you're like, well, nothing can face this guy. But when he reveals that name,
it's over.
He shits himself practically on screen. Yeah, but even his performance is like, you don't do that to him! Dear God, no! Like, you can tell he's terrified, and that just sends a chill down your spine. Because, like, if that can get to this guy, this hardened, crazy as fuck criminal, bashing people's brains in with a bowling ball, and that's the beauty of setting up Kingpin this way, is like, he's just this, he's like Sauron, he's just this presence, like, you don't fuck with this guy.
Well, and I think even the way he did sort of break down, it wasn't, you don't get it, man, you did this, it was an 80s punk guy, it was like a little kid, like, you don't get it,
he was like a small child.
I mean, he knew this was the end, and it's like, no, this is the only way out, it sucks, but boom, just like not even thinking, just shove him into the...
You think this is about you?
Yeah. I mean, so, no, I thought it was very nicely done.
I am trying to think what else. Ben Urich. I don't know if you know who that is. I used to read Spider-Man, so he was in Spider-Man. He did criminal investigating.
Was he like the reporter? Or?
Yeah, he was a reporter. In Spider-Man, he worked for the Bugle, and for Jonah Jameson. So here he's at some other paper, and it's a little bit of a
Jameson
different...
fired him.
Yeah, it's a different representation a bit from the comics. I feel like this feels more like this would be Ben Urich at the end of his career. Like, I kind of remember him being more prominent, like, in the comics, and not quite as... Well, he does get downtrodden kind of in the comics, but he brings that on. I don't know. The point being, it's a slightly different interpretation, but I like it because it works for this show. If he was some big hotshot investigative reporter working for the Bugle, like... I don't see that fitting quite as well in this universe, but it's great to see him, and I love that opening scene where he's just like, listen, don't take this one. Just skip it. Like, don't bother. And you get this concept already of that, the old mobs being chased out of the city. And again, the presence of Sauron.
The last thing I'll say is that when... And this never even dawned on me. I like it when, and we beat up the movie and stuff like that, but this... never even dawned on me in the movie, and here it's like the guy comes in, Wesley comes in, and it obviously really crooked and stuff, and he doesn't want to take the case, and then when he confirms pretty much this guy is crooked, he's like, well, take the case. And I thought about him like, yeah, he wants to find these criminals, he wants to be in...
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he take the Kingpin stuff? It's the perfect in. And so I'm thinking about it in the movie when he turns it down, we only represent those who are innocent. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You have an in, you have a key to all these criminals. It never dawned on me. That actually makes perfect sense.
I will say this, because I don't know where else to bring it up. Well, you know what? I guess we can talk about it later when they reveal how his sight works. But I will say the one thing that the movie I thought did pretty well was representations of how Murdoch sees.
I thought that was very well done too. Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird. I'm not picking on the actor, but I kind of forget he's blind, but not in the good way, in the sort of like, yeah, because like I don't know if there's an actual kind of blind performance going on, or if like I feel like somehow without that constant reminder in the special effects like the movie did, that kind of gets lost a little.
No, you know,
I don't know how you feel, but it's one thing
actually,
that I thought the movie did really well was I really did believe Ben Affleck was
no, actually,
blind.
it's funny because it's almost the exact opposite with me. I think
Oh, really?
visually in the movie, I thought they captured the blindness part. I thought it was a very clever way to show that. It was very nicely done. And you had, whatever, Ben Affleck had the context. He played it very blind. I mean, his eyes were always straight. Where this guy, yeah, like in the performance before, I seem to remember, like when he's on the couch with Dawson and stuff. I mean, he's looking around, and not to say blind people can't do that, but, you know, like you said, visually, it's a good reminder when you have Affleck just staring off into space, which he's very good at.
I think part of the key is, even if a blind person moves their eyes around, it has become the accepted visual trope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm not saying
it's kind of jarring.
I'm talking about
like,
visually, but
yeah.
but with that said, I am constantly reminded that he's blind because they zero in so much on the listening and the darkness. You know, because he is constant, especially in this one, he is constantly surrounded in that black, and it is slowing down, and he's listening, and he's taking that time. And for me, it's a constant reminder that he is. Where in the other one, again, not because you only have so much time. So I don't necessarily blame it for that, but you have to keep the movie going. You have to get the action scenes. You have to get the fighting.
I guess you're right. I guess it's a difference between doing it through a performance and doing it by having the plot set it up to remind you that he's blind.
Yeah, or even.
And I don't feel like the performance is doing it as much for me, and maybe that's just more important to me. I'm not saying it's a bad performance. I actually think it's overall a very good performance. This is one of those little nitpicks because it's hard finding things to nitpick about this show. Like, it's really difficult. It was one of the things I noticed over the course of watching it the first time. After a while, I'm like, yeah, I kind of forget he's blind. There are sometimes where I just am like, well, why doesn't he like, oh yeah, he's blind.
See, honestly, for me, because there's less of the actual crime fighting going on, I'm constantly reminded that he is, because I think so much attention is dedicated to slowing it down and the hearing and stuff. But I know what you're talking about too, where with Affleck, you can look at him with the eyes and the way he did it instead of that guy's blind. Where in this one, you know, if you didn't have the glasses on and you saw him, that scene where he's on the couch with Rosario Dawson and talking, like, majority of that, in fact, in that episode, I don't think you could tell me he was blind and I would believe it. I'd just be like, no, it's just a dude. You know, like, he just played it like anyone else. He didn't play it like he was blind in that. So I know what you're talking about, but I still, the feeling and the environment very much suggests blindness.
It doesn't kill the show in any way. It's just one of those little things I noticed. Trying to think what else. I did look it up because it was driving me nuts. I'm like, what is Claire Temple? It's a reference to another comic, Luke Cage. I didn't read much of that, if any, so I wouldn't have known. It looks like Night Nurse to me, but I don't know if they're combining two characters or gonna spin off into that after Daredevil. So, but
Alright,
I just answered that. You would have no idea what I'm talking about.
So.
I barely knew. I'm like, oh, I didn't read that anyway.
So there you go. We will see you at the next one.